I'm Mudie, I'm from the University of Dundee, and I work as part of a research team at the Leverhulme Research Centre for Forensic Science. We got given £10 million over 10 years to disrupt forensic science. And that has created a multidisciplinary team of everyone ranging from DNA scientists to statisticians to lawyers to material scientists and to people like me who are just interested in technology. That's how I managed to get their grips into this research field and start looking at exciting things as well. So what am I doing? So that's why I've been called here. I'm doing my PhD. I'm doing my PhD in augmented reality, crime scene visualization and communication. And what that's all about is about enabling crime scene investigators to really get into the crime scene and facilitate their job with new technologies. A lot of people here, when they hear the word augmented reality, they think about tools like the HoloLens and things like that, new sort of virtual headsets and all this kind of thing. And while my first part of my research didn't necessarily focus on those type of things, it's definitely the type of tools that I'm looking at today. I've got someone with me, and I'm actually going to give the opportunity for people to try it out. So if anyone's not actually tried one of these headsets on, we can show them a little bit like what a crime scene investigator might see in this room here. You can get some that's fantastic. And why that differs from virtual reality, which is another technology that a lot of people have heard of, but might not necessarily know how it's being applied. Yeah, so what I'm doing is all my research is based around the crime scene investigation part. We are looking, so the research unit as a whole is looking at the crime scene to court aspects of everything that's involved with the crime scene investigation itself, the forensic research that's going on and the forensic science that's going on in the labs, the police and how they interpret that information and create evidence to be presented in a court and ultimately in front of a jury, so that they can decide ultimately, where justice lies. Is this person innocent or is this person guilty? The problems I face with technology in this regard is how people interpret how the way these types of information are gathered and then presented. So the classic sort of example that's running through my mind the entire time that I'm looking at all this type of things is you've got people that can be very pro-technology and some people that can be very against technology. You have the type of person that immediately wants to go and get the latest iPhone, and then you have the person that's looking for the latest Nokia phone. Why did they stop it? And when it comes to the crime scene, that's exactly the same type of worry that we have as well. If we're putting new technologies in a crime scene, like these HoloLenses or anything else like that, how is that changing the way that a jury then interprets that evidence that's being presented? If people get an insight into the fact that someone is dawning on this new fanciful technology, and as a crime scene investigator walks in, and we've developed some sort of technology that allows extra information to be overlaid into that crime scene. Perhaps pick up DNA evidence and highlight it to the crime scene investigator so they can prioritise it in terms of the way that they might tackle the room and work through it, or that behind the scenes that information is then being fed back to them in a more like a strategic manner. Will a jury that are impressed by technology, understand how technology works, ultimately decide that that evidence gets some sort of extra weight? That those technologies are perhaps being used to give extra credit to the way that that DNA has been collected? And does it ultimately bias a jury in how they view it? The flip side of that, of course, is that you've got someone else in the jury that thinks the exact opposite. Yeah? We've got people that are against the technology and then necessarily don't like how that information is being collected. They might prejudice? You know what I mean? It might give them some sort of prejudice against that information when it gets presented to them. They think that's not an appropriate way that information is collected. It's all about humans being involved in this process. And ultimately, the future of crime scene investigation as well perhaps relies on AI. Yeah? We could be looking at how AIs interpret a crime scene and direct the way that crime scene investigators navigate that. One of the biggest challenges that crime scene investigators face, amongst many others, apart from the scrutiny that all the work is put under and the rigorous process they need to go through, is that we have to, or crime scene investigators have to rather, not myself, I'm just a researcher, but at the same time they have to take copious notes that detail exactly how they're going through a crime scene. All the way from the time they took the photograph, what they took the photograph of, what that photograph contains in terms of the evidence and things like that. And currently, within our UK system, that information gets duplicated and almost in triplicate, I think, sometimes. So while you have an evidence that you're bagging and tagging, putting your evidence number on, you perhaps have that copied into a photograph, and at the same time copied into some notes that say that this piece of evidence was gathered at that time. With machine learning and AI, we're able to look at the video of how that information is collected in the crime scene, and perhaps actually even document this automatically, taking out all the guesswork or the error that could be introduced by humans trying to collect this information. But ultimately then, how secure, or not how secure, but how robust is that technology that's being, or how that information is being presented in our courts as well? The way that AI and all these tools like penetrate into all our systems is a big question for everything. But with our crime scene to court process, it certainly goes under an extra layer of scrutiny, and as it should, yeah? We're putting people away for life, potentially, on some of the results of these cases. That's a little bit about what I'm looking at, but I'm just part of a bigger team. I'm here sort of not just representing myself, but also my entire research unit, who have like managed to take up this entire site of cafe but yeah, we've got a whole bunch of a great team. So we've got our director of research centre, Neve, Professor Neve Nickdead. She's a current practitioner of fire scene investigation, but was actually also awarded the European Network of Forensic Science Institute's Distinguished Forensic Science Award, which is actually the first woman and the first person from the UK academic institution to receive that award. And that's just like the top level of our research unit. Neve says something great, actually. We have a whole bunch of projects being run at the Leadership Research Centre. And so it's not just my one looking at crime scene in terms of augmented realities and new technologies. We also have people looking at how shaking up the way DNA is done. Classically, it's done with a closed box, and it's very commercial-based way of doing DNA analysis. So we've got a variety of projects, not only looking at how we can actually shake that up, but at the same time, how we can work better with the technologies, or better with the tools that we're using at the moment. We have transfer and persistence projects, trying to understand exactly how one piece of fibre that perhaps if you sit on this chair here and then someone else sits in that chair, what are the chances that you pick up a piece of fibre from that person's jumper or jacket? And when it comes to a crime scene, that's really important. Yeah? If we start finding my fibres on someone else just because they sat in a chair earlier that day, then that's those sort of things we've got to think about. And all these projects are really a wide variety of projects, all looking at different things, but they're all equally important, especially when it comes to the new making of crime scenes. I strongly encourage you to go check out our website as well, which I'll some links for later. But yeah, so the thing that Neve said that I think is fantastic is that these projects are for everybody because justice is for everybody. And that's something that totally stems under everything that we do at the Research Centre. It's why I'm so happy to see so many faces I don't recognise here. I was genuinely worried it was going to be my mum and dad in the corner and empty over here. And yeah, it's so great to be able to like share this all with people that I've never met before. Because hopefully it will encourage you to come and check out all the research projects you're looking at and hopefully get involved as well. We actually have a whole bunch of posts opening up for postdocs in a variety of things. Even like communication and things like that. So anyone can get involved that's just passionate about this kind of thing. The other one that I wanted to cover was that, yes, so we have a great team, as I said, but we've got people looking at bioinformatics and data science, education and training in forensic science, biochemistry looking at DNA, but we also have people looking at like material science and functional materials, detectors and trace evidence. And that's exactly the type of thing that feeds into my research as well, specifically in the crime scene. The crime scene is a really important aspect of all the research as well. We actually had a great 2 days where we actually all donned the actual white suits, the Teletubby suits as they call them, all got taped up, put the masks on, and were forced to go thoroughly enjoyed going through this process. We were led and shown exactly what's involved with the crime scene investigators. Because while we've got postdocs that are looking at law and how these things are presented in the court, it's really important that they've got a really good in-depth understanding of how that information was even collected that they're going to be presenting. And yeah, that's so part of where this all falls into my research again, and what I think is really important is I've got a question that I'd like to ask you all, and hopefully I'll get some feedback within the sheets that I'll hand out. Sorry. And that's what question you have about the use of new technology in the criminal justice system. So part of my research, trying to be as rounded as possible, isn't just looking at the technologies themselves, but trying to understand how people on the jury interpret the use of those technologies. So when I ask what questions would you have about the use of technology in the criminal justice system, I'm thinking about what gives you that assurance, what gives you the understanding of new technologies as they come and are presented in front of you. I'm willing to bet that not many people have been on a jury, but the way that these sort of things, the way new technologies sort of like penetrate our lives normally is in the form of like smart meters is my best example I've got at the moment, where you're being pushed these new technologies, but where's the evidence or the information alongside that allows you to really understand like why you're doing it? A lot of the time these things get backed up that it's going to save you money and all that sort of thing, but when it comes along with the news stories that people are being overcharged for these type of things, what sort of thing would give you the confidence to incorporate that into your daily lives to make it easier for you? So in the criminal justice system, it's exactly that as well. If we're looking at all these new technologies, how do you gain confidence that you understand these things fully? That it's being used for the right purpose and the information is being validated, and is that going to be a governing body that says that these tools are being used correctly, or is it a third party? How do you want to understand that? And that's what's going to influence my research. We have things called primers that our research units put out. And these primers have been set up for two in the first instance. So we've got a primer in DNA and we've got a primer in gait analysis that have been, I think, got and they're being deployed in multiple formats, and for the main purpose of trying to get scientific information across to the layperson that doesn't necessarily deal with that type of information all the time. So we've got a variety of formats that it goes out in as well. So for DNA analysis, if you want a judge to understand how DNA analysis works, the best format we found for them is to give them a nice 200-page document. You slap it down in front of the table and they say, excellent, I'll do that for my lunchtime reading, yeah? But if you give that to a jury member, that's the exact opposite of what they want. If they want to understand how DNA works, they just want the cliff notes. They want to make sure that they're understanding the basic principles and the information that they're being presented is of a sound science. So one alternative we looked at is producing that as a comic. Yeah? Pictures loaded with information that allow you to visualize and understand exactly how all these things fit together across that entire that our crime scene to court, effectively, how that information is collected and why and how it's presented. So for those two different audiences, we've got two different formats that contain both scientifically correct information about how they're being presented, but it's all based on asking this question in the first instance: what answers do you need? What answers to what questions do you even have about how these things are being used? The same can be said for gait analysis as well. So we've got the DNA primer and we've got the gait analysis, both which are these different formats that can be accessed by different people and absorbed different ways.
What's gait analysis?
Gait analysis, sorry.
Gait.
Yeah. So gait analysis is the analysis of how you walk, your gait, how you walk across a room. So yeah, it's basically trying to identify people from the way they step, the way they walk, the way their hands are positioned, all that kind of stuff. It's a body language effectively of how you walk across the room. This is great for CCTV footage and things like that. Well, actually, I say that in principle it's great for CCTV analysis and things like that, but it's definitely been room for improvement in the science. Actually, it's a good segue, actually, is that while I'm looking at how new technologies are being used, the research unit has been funded specifically to disrupt forensic science. Almost everything else we're looking at blowing things out of the water and really trying to get to the fundamentals of how that science actually works. Classic things like fingerprints analysis, something that's existed for a long time ago, and cheeky dot in the background, maybe a fingerprint analysis. But these type of things have been accepted as science in the past, but now when we're looking at them again, it doesn't necessarily have the same scientific foundation that we necessarily thought. The truth is actually also, it's also true for DNA analysis as well. We're looking at really how we can actually shake that up entirely and look at different parts of your DNA sequence to try and identify people. A good part of the primer on DNA analysis is actually that it's knowing that DNA doesn't identify a person, but it doesn't. DNA analysis does not identify a person for a crime, but only can exclude you from a crime. So that's an interesting way. I think a lot of people think the DNA analysis is like you give this 100% match, 99% match, but it's actually almost the complete opposite. It's saying that we can't exclude you from all the people that could be a possible person who can commit this crime. That's all I have for now. I hope that's given you just a little taste of everything that we're looking at. I really encourage you to go check out our website and see the different projects that we're working on. We've got a whole lot of public engagement opportunities that we're hopefully opening in the future. And we've got really great ones where we're working with school kids and things like that to try and take projects that might only be possible on a local level to try and roll it out to school kids to try and build a national database of the actual what we're doing is background frequency of glass. So getting school kids to develop a project together that we're then hoping to roll out across the whole of the UK to understand how much glass exists in our environment, so that if you're found with glass on you because there was a broken window at a crime scene, then how likely was it that glass was actually on you already? And then hopefully more as well. I do want to hand you out the questions. Hopefully I can get help from John to hand us a bit of paper. But yeah, this is just some bits of paper that is the question that I was talking about before. So what questions would you have about the use of new technology in the criminal justice system? Effectively, I'm trying to ask, what gives you the confidence that these technologies, any technology, would be suitable? Yeah? If something completely new was to come along, I can't think of anything new completely without mind. But like this, if we're using augmented reality visualization in the crime scene to project information on the crime scene, whether it's from new sensors that highlight blood, or it's from sensors that highlight sound or gas, or something like that, then if that information is being used to lead a crime scene investigator through a crime scene, how would you want it to be accredited? What sort of scientific foundation would you expect to see from that type of thing? And do you expect the government to get involved in those sort of decisions as well? I know that with everything I look at, with technology as a whole, that none of it surprises me. I always feel like I know the limitations or I know where it can go. But for other people, it seems as a massive surprise that it's able to identify people from their face with a certain degree of accuracy, or it's able to identify people from across the room, even with the grainiest footage and things like that. I think that's the thing that surprises people the most. And I really want to try and get an understanding of how the public would then interpret that information, how they would make a decision that reinforces their understanding or gives them confidence in how that information is presented. I also have, like I said, I have actually got a piece of technology with me that will hopefully help you visualize exactly what I'm actually talking about. It's incredibly hard to talk about augmented and virtual reality without any slides or any images to work with, which is why I can spend a lot of time talking about it. But for anyone that's never experienced it, or wants to just give it a try again because they've not a shot, then come and talk to me and we'll get you a shot. And I've also got another headset as well that will hopefully demonstrate, give you an idea of the difference that an augmented reality headset might have from virtual reality. Augmented reality for our crime scene investigators is going to allow them to visualize exactly what's in that crime scene while they're actually standing there. But we have other research projects with some of the team that will allow remote viewers to view that as well. So while I'm in the crime scene and I'm looking at my broken window, I don't want to say dead body, but if I'm looking at my broken window and I want to overlay that information on there, Then a virtual reality headset would be the type of tool that would allow a remote viewer to remotely visit that crime scene, surround themselves with it, so it cuts them off from the world. Whereas augmented reality takes that real world and, as it suggests, augments it, allows those things to be overlaid. So yeah, I'm really keen to give people a shot that haven't necessarily seen that in action, and we'll get that set up. Unfortunately, virtual reality is something I need a whole computer to run, so I've not got that with me. But yeah, thank you. Hopefully that's given you, like I say, a wee taster in exactly what we're looking at as a research centre as a whole. It's given you a little bit of interest, at least just kind of jump in and see if there's any opportunities to get involved with us as well. And like I say, I'll hand out some bits of paper as well with our website link and our Facebook and Twitter that you can follow us, because we've got some great guys working on a whole variety of different projects, and not just me playing on the front of the stage. So thank you very much.